All
Love it.
right, I say we get going.
Good.
I can manage the anybody that dribbles in. Well, thank you everybody for being here. First off, if you know me, I'm Anthony with Bonk Digital. Michelle Michael with Berman Media, author of The Black Line. I asked her here today. Let me back up for a second. Part of my goal in 2026 is to get really clear on the things we're doing in our business and really clear on and limiting on the things we advise people that work with us. And I think if you're a business owner, which I consider all of you business owners, whether you work for a branch or a lender, a broker, if you're in charge of your own generating your own income, as far as I'm concerned, you're a business owner. So we're all in the same boat, and we have to protect our time. We have to protect our effort. And I think today is going to be a great way to um, get some clarity specifically on how to use social media to prospect. And I'm not going to go too crazy. I want to really just want to give it over to Michelle. Um, but just look through it of the lens of we've all probably tried social media. We all know we should do it, but then we all get to the point where we're like, why are we doing this? Is this even working? It doesn't feel like it's working. Today is about trying to eliminate all that and just get clear on what we can do to make social media work for us. And without going any further, I'm going to give it over to you, Michelle.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to get my screen share going and I will say, hopefully you guys can see that. Got a thumbs up on that. Hopefully. Anthony, can you see it okay?
I can
Julie,
see it. Yep.
that's perfect. Awesome. So, well, first and foremost, just a huge thank you to Anthony for organizing this. I remember when he reached out and said, "Hey, we need to have a chat about this." I could not have agreed more with his thought process. And I think I don't want to speak for him, but I would say we both are in alignment with our words of the year being around boundaries. What do we do and what don't we do? And it's really special when you find another human that respects those boundaries in their own business as much as you do. So, Anthony's incredible at what he does. And I like to think that we're pretty good at what we do over here. So I think it's a really beautiful combination of the two. But for those of you guys who are on here, who don't know me, I'll give you a high level overview in just a moment. But before we do, in the chat box, I would love to know how many of you guys, by show of yeses or nos in the form of typing it, would say that you feel like you've probably spent time and energy and for some of you money on social, but have struggled with how do I actually make money out of it? Or I feel like I'm not making money yet out of it. How many of you guys would say yes or no to that?
Lots of yeses. Yeah,
All the yeses.
we're all in the same boat.
Everybody's in the same boat, and I totally respect and feel all of your pain because I was there many years ago. And when I discovered the unlock to that, I have made it my mission to really debunk most, if not all, of what you guys have probably heard in the social space. So, my next question before we kind of start this is how many of you guys would say that looking at social, you feel like everything from, the social media webinars you've been on, if you've been on any recently, or even conferences, if you are a conference goer, feel like all of the social media speakers are pretty much saying the same thing, right? Like, do more video, post more content, here's how to make better content. And you feel like you're in that sort of feedback loop of I have to do more or post more or get this gadget, or if I get this cool app, this is going to solve my problem, right? If you feel that, let me know. Craig says, yeah, the same thing. Circle jerk, Deanna. I love that. Definitely. Julie says, yes. Jake says, never doing enough. Totally, right? So you guys all understand what I'm referring to. And let me be the one to start this by telling you this is not a webinar about how to do more. This is actually a webinar about how to do less. So we're going to talk a lot about what that even means. And from a perspective of, I don't spend my entire day on social. I don't post every single day, but there is one thing that I religiously, without fail, do every day, and that is what I'm here to teach you. And we'll hopefully be able to have some Q&A time if I can get through this fast enough. If we go over, we go over, but hopefully we can try to keep it at the top of the hour. Okay, so we'll start by just kind of saying that. And I will preface also by saying the title of our time together is The Black Line of Prospecting and how do we drive business using leverage. with social, meaning social media as the vehicle. So what does that mean? That means we're sending messages using social. We're not texting, we're not calling, we're not emailing, but we're actually creating opportunity for ourselves using social, meaning we're sending someone a message on Instagram, we're sending them a message on LinkedIn, we're sending them a private message on Facebook, but we are wildly intentional about who and how we go about doing that. And hopefully, you guys stay with me and can track along the way as far as how do we do that? What does it look like? And hopefully, you guys leave here feeling really empowered to be able to do that effectively. Okay. So before we start, for those of you guys who are not connected to me, that QR code will take you directly to my Instagram account. You can also just type in Berman Media Social. You can find me anywhere: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. I am on all platforms. I personally do not love TikTok, but I'm on there, and I'll tell you solely, as told Anthony several months ago, like I'm only on TikTok because I have to be, because I'm trying to land a TEDx. And apparently, when you want to do a TEDx, you have to have a TikTok account. Who knew? But that is the only reason why I'm on TikTok, but I literally only open the app to post my video, and that's about it. So, but you can find me on all the other platforms. I'm super active in my messages, so feel free to take pictures, post, tag me in stories, whatever it is, and I'd love to connect with you off of the webinar, but online on those platforms when we're done. Okay? All right. So, to kick us off, question for all of you. Looking at this, what do you see? Let's use the chat box. Tell me, what do you guys see? No wrong answer, but I still want to know what you guys think.
I can't answer. I'd be cheating because I have some inside baseball.
Yes. No, no cheating allowed, Anthony. Shh. Right. Pool lane looks like underwater, swimming pool. Love it. Black line, yellow brick road. I love that, Craig. Lots of swimming pools. Cool. So obviously it's a swimming pool, guys. We all know that. But what is the reason I'm sharing this with you? So if you have ever looked at the bottom of a swimming pool, oh, Brian says stay in your lane. I love that. Getting warmer, right? But if you have ever looked at the bottom of a swimming pool, then you've seen this. What I want you to see is that solid black line that ran or runs straight down the center. So for 20 years of my life, I swam the mile. Any of you guys know swimming, you know the sport. You know that the mile is the longest event on the swimming program. So I specialized in swimming the mile starting at the age of 13 and averaged about 6 miles a day in the pool, all the way from 13 until I was almost 22 when I graduated from college. And so that black line for nearly 20 years of my life was the anchor for me. And as a swimmer of the mile, not the 50-meter freestyle, we used to always joke that I was not born with any form of sprint in me. Everything about me was endurance from day one. But the 50-meter free, if you're familiar with swimming, you know that it is a very, very fast race. It's super loud. It's over in seconds, almost like the moment they hit the water, boom, it's over. But the mile is very controlled. It's a very disciplined race. It's actually really more about holding back and holding form when you're tired and pacing yourself when you see someone next to you surge ahead or try to, take over the race 200 meters in when you still have 50 laps to go, and staying locked in when your mind is trying to have you panic of, oh no, I'm going to fall behind, or oh no, I'm not where I need to be. And I think right now, most of you, I would assume, are in the mortgage industry, if not all of you. Right now, mortgage banking in my world, from my lens, if you will, as someone who coaches the mortgage industry all day, every day, you guys are in a 50-meter market, or what feels like a 50-meter market, meaning you have to go as fast as possible or feel like you have to keep up with what everybody else is doing. You have to be fast. You have to be super reactive. Everything is about AI. I mean, Anthony, I don't know how many conferences you went to last year, excuse me, but I swear everything was AI.
Yep.
Right? I can't even think of a conference I went to where there wasn't a keynote about AI, something or other. So we also have margin compression, compliance pressure. We got volume swings up and down. Just feels like there's a lot of noise everywhere. But here's what I know is that this is not a sprint business. We're not in the business of going as fast as possible for a short period of time.
You cut out a little bit, Michelle.
Sorry, say it again.
You cut out a little bit.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can now. Is everybody else here?
You guys all hear me okay? Cool. Sorry if it went out.
It could be
Hopefully
mine.
we're good. So what I was saying though is that the mortgage industry right now, we're not in the business of sprinting. right? I really feel like our business is more about the mile. It's more about being moving consistently over a long period of time so that you can be in the industry for 25 or 30 or 40 years, right? Some of my favorite clients have literally been in the industry for longer than I've been alive. And that's cool, right? So, what I want you guys to think about is when you do all of this that I'm about to teach you, um, in order to journey further, right? We need to not be the ones who accelerate the most. We need to not be the ones who go as fast as what we think everybody else is doing just so we feel like maybe we're keeping up. But instead, we really need to protect the fundamentals. And I think today, for you guys who are interested in how do I actually make social make sense for me, I want you to think about it from the lens of this isn't about scaling faster, it's about stabilizing our effort and our energy, right? I'm only going to give this the energy that it requires for it to move me forward. So the 50-meter freestyle is a 2-lap race. The mile is a 66 lap race. Think about the difference between the two events, massively different. But the mortgage industry, if you think about it from this perspective, the 50-meter free people versus the mile, who are the people who are going to endure? The milers, not the 50-meter freers. So that's exactly what I think you guys need when we look through this. Okay. So that black line on the bottom of the pool is what I want you guys to look at now as the visual anchor in your life moving forward when it comes to spending my time and energy on social and where am I going to use it. And also, I hope anytime you guys go to a gym or go to a pool and you see that black line on the bottom of the pool, you now remember that analogy. It's always fun on LinkedIn, especially. I'll get messages from clients or friends who are like, hey, I was sitting in the sauna and I, for the first time in my entire life, actually saw and realized that that was a black line. Oh my gosh. It's fun. It's cool when I get those messages. Okay, so my sort of core message for you guys today, which is my most important piece, and I think one of the things that I'm adamant about sharing in 2026 is that we do not need to be louder this year. We need to be clear. So I think most professionals, if not all, think that the solution is, or the solution to, I don't know what to do, or this instability feeling is to get louder, meaning more content, more tactics. I need more strategies. I need more platforms, more sense of urgency. But if something isn't working, adding more is not the solution, right? Meaning louder doesn't create the progress we want. It creates turbulence or panic. So when I was swimming the mile, the fastest swimmers were not the ones thrashing in the water the hardest. They were the ones who were just locked in on the black line on the bottom of the pool and just paid attention to only that. Put the blinders on. Think of the lane lines as the things that keep you from paying attention to the people next to you. And you just kept your head down and you completed that race and didn't worry about what someone else was doing. You just trusted your training or protected the fundamentals, as I was referring to. So in business, I think clarity here, which is our goal for the year, to be clearer. Clarity works the same way. So clearer means we do fewer things, we take fewer actions, but we execute very intentionally and very consistently. And I was on a webinar yesterday, actually, and I asked everybody what their words were for the year, and lots of amounts of intention. That was a big word. I want to be more structured this year. That was a big word. So I think all of you will start to, hopefully identify what your word is if you don't already know. But being clear means being more intentional. Okay, so we're going to identify the few revenue drivers in our businesses, and that's all we're focused on when we spend our time and energy on the platforms. So that black line that I'm referring to, it's not a flashy thing. It's not viral. You don't need to go viral. You don't need to hack the algorithm. You don't need to worry about what the next cool AI tool is. What you need to be is just very focused on how do I actually spend time on the social platforms in a way that is productive and designed to drive a call on my calendar, right? And honestly, even meeting you, Anthony, I think it's been fun for me to be able to coach you through that a little bit in the sense of it's just one message a day, right? If you just send one message a day every day, it compounds dramatically. And when you look at your calendar and you're like, whoa, this is so much easier than I thought it was, and it took me less than 5 minutes a day, it gives you that dopamine hit that makes you want to keep going, right? So
Yep.
that's the good kind of dopamine. That's the healthy dopamine. So we don't need more motivation, guys. We need direction. That's what this comes down to. So the black line itself is direction. And I think the last piece to this that I want to say is that motivation, right? That word motivation, because a lot of times we start the new year, we're like, I'm so motivated, I'm going to crush it this year. Well, motivation is emotional, whereas direction is very structural, right? So motivation flees. Think about, I don't know the neuroscience behind it, but someone told me on a webinar the other day because I asked if anybody was a psychology nerd, and this one gentleman commented in the chat box and he says that on average, on a daily basis, our emotions will change anywhere from 6 to 12 times. Meaning, if someone were to survey, hey, Anthony, how are you feeling right now? That would change anywhere between 6 and 12 times throughout a day. That is a big fluctuation of emotion, right? So when that happens, we need to understand that being motivated is something that's a fleeting metric. Whereas being structural, having a system in place is one of those things that we can execute even when that emotion is up and down, right? And if we have time, I can share a personal story about that. But for sake of right now, I'll leave that out unless we have time later on. But that is super close to my heart and a big reason behind the Black Line methodology. Okay. So here's the truth. As we grow in our businesses, as we become more successful, there's this sort of natural resistance to the basics that we did all this time to get to where we are. So we sort of forget how we were built, and we can't do that, right? Especially in a world of a lot of shiny object syndrome. Can we get an amen for that one? Because there is a lot of shiny objects everywhere. We don't have time for that, right? Because shiny objects slows us down. It doesn't actually create forward progress for us, even though it might feel good in the moment. So we live, I feel like, 2026 especially, we really live in a culture that rewards sprinting. And I feel like that needs to shift back towards we need to really live our own lives for the long haul, not just for what's happening right now. And that's why I think social is so powerful if done properly, which it's not in most cases. So this is the big difference. Yes, that is a fun picture of me swimming. That's actually right before my last mile of my career in Pittsburgh University's natatorium, my senior year of college. Any East Coasters, I went to Rutgers, so you probably know where that is, but that is in Jersey. So I truly believe today that we are living in, if not the most distracted, one of the most distracted dopamine driven business environments in history. And so sales professionals, entrepreneurs, honestly, really anyone in the commission industry is overwhelmed by constant noise, whether that's AI, whether that's, hey, here's what the algorithm is doing, the pressure of content, right? Oh, so and so posted that. Does that mean I have to go do a video about that? We sort of live in that constant feeling, or comparison culture, I think is a good way of describing that. So everyone's being told to do more. I mean, even at a conference I was just at, that's what it felt like, right? I mean, that's what I was hearing literally as a person in the crowd. I have to do more. I have to be this more. When really it's like, hold on, no, let me just put my blinders on and just keep doing what I'm doing. So, but
Well,
with
just to
that,
interrupt, just to
yeah, go
interrupt.
ahead. Yeah.
One thing that I think happens, I know happens to me, and I think will probably happens to a lot of you too when you get that, when it's all you just bombarded with do more. You may find one or two things that you think you can do, but at least for me, I end up doing none of it. So it's almost like the
Paralysis.
opposite effect. Anyway,
Yeah, it's that paralysis by analysis of like, oh, I know I'm supposed to do all these things, but now I'm not doing anything.
yeah.
Right. So true. So with that, right, obviously, despite having more information, having access to more, there's two big things that are rising, two sort of ideas or ideologies, if you will, that are rising, or maybe epidemics, I guess might be a good word, but inconsistency is number one. So inconsistency is massively rising despite having more information. But the other one, and this is one that's also very personal to me over the last many years, is burnout, right? How many of you guys have ever felt burnt out? And if that's the case, I know why, because I've been there. I've lived it multiple times in my career. I've been in business almost 11 years. I guess 11, almost 12 years now. But burnout, I think, isn't doing too much. It's actually doing too much of the wrong thing. So I really want you guys to think about that. Burnout as a whole, like if we're putting this in the lens of social, burnout isn't that you're doing too much. It's really that you're doing too much of the wrong thing. So you're putting energy and effort into something that doesn't actually bring you joy, right? In this case, having a full pipeline for March or having a full pipeline for April, that will bring us joy so we can reduce the panic and reduce the anxiety of like, where's my next deal coming from, right? But if you're stuck on, I have to do more video today, like that doesn't really light you up. So that's where the burnout really comes from. And I have tons of stories and examples in my own professional career. Luckily, most of those are filled now by incredible employees that work for me that I no longer have to do those things that don't bring me joy, right? Which is super important. So, the big difference here between training for the 50-meter free and training for the mile, the most important bullet point on both sides is the bottom one. On the 50-meter free world, living in that dopamine driven, constant noise, content, app, algorithm, whatever's going on, we're super exhausted, frankly. On the mile side, if we change our frame of reference and how we attack social, it becomes sustainable. And I don't know about you guys, but I like sustainable and I like knowing that I'm also in control of my own destiny. So if I'm going to put time and effort into something, I want to know that it's going to come back to me tenfold and not just hope. Hope is a scary place to live when it comes to being an entrepreneur, right? Or a self-employed business owner. So we don't want to live in that space. So building a brand, this is a big thing. Building a brand is super valuable, and I don't want to discount from content or how we show up in our content. We're going to talk about that here for just a moment before we switch gears to prospecting, because building a brand itself is so valuable, right? I love when people see the black line or see a pool now and a black line in it and think of me, right? That means I've done a good job. I've done my branding side of my company and of my career well. But at the end of the day, that's cool, but it doesn't make us money necessarily, right? What does is our pipeline. When we look at our calendar, is it full of opportunities? Is it full of calls with people that we don't know, where we're having lunch with a new realtor who we've been recommended to, or that we reached out to and they said yes, and now we're having this cool meeting with this new person, right? That's where we want to live, because that's what creates a really sustainable business for us and momentum, frankly, right? So I really want you guys to think about the content matters, yes. And at the end of the day, though, it is not what ultimately makes us money. It's the prospecting aspect that really does. So this is something we're going to talk about for about 2 slides here, but your content, meaning what you post, does matter. And I don't want to discount from that. The quality of how you show up on social does matter, but it is the foundation of how you prospect. So if I'm going to teach you how to prospect, which we are about to spend a whole bunch of time on that, then your content hopefully is okay. If your content's not okay and it falls into some of the categories on the next screen, when I show this to you, then that needs to be your first priority, right? So I did a big webinar about 2, 3 months ago, right at the end of the year. And there was a gentleman in the chat box and he was kind of keyboard warrior-ish, right? And he was like, can we just skip the content part? I want to learn how to prospect. And so what did I do? I said, sir, can you drop your Instagram handle in the chat box? He did. And I screen shared his Instagram in front of this room of almost 200 people on this Zoom. And his content was nothing but in-house marketing graphics or Canva squares that did not have his face on them and had way too much information, meaning way too much text. And there was not a single picture of him as a dad, as a husband, as somebody who enjoyed things outside of work. There was no branding, right? Meaning he hadn't spent any time on what is my visual aesthetic that I'm actually after. I mean, Anthony, you do websites for a living. You know how important that is,
Yep.
right? Meaning like what we look like when someone consumes our content matters. So this gentleman, I said to him kind of lovingly, I was like, sir, if I taught you how to prospect right now, it honestly wouldn't work very well. No matter how perfect your messages were, probably not going to get you super far because you have a content problem, right? So the content itself is the foundation of our outbound prospecting efforts, which means we do need to spend time on it. So here are the 5 big things as it relates to content that I want to talk through before we switch gears into the prospecting piece, because this is important. We don't want to glaze over it. First and foremost on this list, number 1 is value series. So this is the signature form of content that I teach all of our clients. It is super, super fun for our clients because it allows you to bring your personal life into, or even your passions, if you will, into your professional life. Now, the number 1 way to convert on social is through storytelling. The best way to tell a story is through analogies. So you're going to hear me talk about that, because if you want to create somebody or create emotion in someone, tell them a story. And the best way for someone to understand your point of view is through an analogy, because people can conceptualize them in their own brains, right? You guys have all probably had coaches in your life, whether it's professionally, whether it's sports, whether it's whatever. Imagine, or you guys maybe have heard the saying when you have two coaches that they both might say the same thing, but one of them is going to land and the other one's not. That's what we're talking about here is if you have ability to create an analogy about something, it's going to resonate with someone because they're going to have this visual map in their mind and they're going to be able to put two and two together. Oh my gosh, light bulb moment. Now I get it. That's what we want, right? So, value series content is where we combine our passions with our pain points. So, put simply, if you're like, well, I want to be educational, I want to add value to my audience, I want to talk about mortgagee related things so that people understand what all of this even means, right? Value series is how we do that. But what we do is we combine passions, things that we enjoy doing outside of work, and we take our pain points of our ideal client. Here's an example of one that we just did the other day for a client. And it was that he said that his clients have no issue with the mortgage payment that he's trying to get them into. Their issue is the down payment to get to the mortgage payment. Meaning, monthly they can afford the 3,000 or 4,000, whatever the mortgage payment is, but the down payment to get there is where their hurdle is. So maybe that's a pain point for your clients. I don't know. But what we would do there is we would take your passion of, let's say, golf. Let's say I have a client right now who just did his first series on poker and it came out so good. So the passion was poker, the pain point, whatever his was related to the mortgage industry. We combine those two things. We use ChatGPT here. I love a good ChatGPT chat, right? I'm not saying no to AI. I'm saying we're going to use it where it needs our time to help us be more efficient, right? Not to be the person doing all of this for us, but instead to make us faster at what we need to do. That's important. Also, shift on. Don't even get me started on AI use, but we'll skip that for another webinar. But we use ChatGPT to combine our passion with our pain point, and we ask it to build an analogy between the two things. We then turn it into a 5-part video series, and then where those 5 videos are recorded is in the element of the passion. So my poker gentleman, all 5 of his videos, he recorded them sitting at his cool poker table in his basement that his wife has lovingly allowed him to turn into his bro cave, where he hosts the poker game every month, right? So it is super fun for him as someone who's really never done video to put him in an element that makes him feel safe and comfortable, made it more fun for him. So that's really where value series comes into play for a lot of people. It gets you over the video hump while also allowing you to post content that is educational and is valuable, but most importantly, tells a story and allows people into who are you as a human, because you guys have all heard me say this, like, or heard other people say it, and hopefully I'm not the first you're hearing say it, but people buy people, right? We don't buy the product. We don't care about the rate as much as you think we do. We really care about, does this person make me feel safe in making a huge financial decision, or do they not? So that's super key here. And that's why value series is so important. Number 2 is we have to avoid indifference. So indifference by definition, I'm not sure what Webster says, but I do know what Michelle says. And what Michelle says is that indifference means I don't care enough to say yes, and I don't care enough to say no. So if I look at your social platform and I say, got a lot of indifference going on here, what that means is that the people consuming your content will likely not care enough to do anything, but they also don't care enough to not do anything. So therefore, they're just sort of neutral. So we have to create content that creates emotion. And if we don't, what's the point? Okay, number 3, no stock content, no copy paste templates. If you're paying the $150 a month for a subscription where you get templates sent to you every single month, I have a lot of people that I've heard that do these things. Stop doing it. Save yourself the money. It will not work. You think, oh, I'm checking the social media box and yay, I posted content. No, ma'am, or no, sir. That is not quality content and it's not going to move your needle. It's a waste of money. And I do not allow it in my space with any of our coaching clients or any of even my own content, right? Never allowed. So number 4 is also key here. Personalized branding is so critical. So all of the clients that we work with, Anthony, I know you do this with your clients because we've talked about it, but it has to be personalized to the human. So we really work through this whole process. We put you through a ChatGPT mood board assignment. When you submit the mood board to us, we take all of that and we turn it into fully customized branding content designed to match your vibe, your energy, your personality, all the things. If you don't like blue, your content better not be blue. I don't care what company you work for, right? If you're not a square person, ladies, you know what I'm talking about, then don't be a square person, right? be who you are, and your content has to reflect that. So we did a brand reveal this morning actually for one of our clients, and she was like almost in tears because she was like, "Oh my gosh, that looks exactly like my personality." So this, just to give you some context, she's very Chip and Joanna Gaines vibes, but she also owns a historical home in Oklahoma City, and she has a pollinator garden in her backyard. She's just like very, it's so fun to see how we were able to take that mood board of her personality and transition it into beautiful content that actually makes her feel excited about posting something. That's what killer personalized branding should do. If you don't feel that feeling when you look at your content, fix it. Spend the time on it because it's so worth it, because it will allow for that inconsistency factor to fade away. You're inconsistent because you look at your content and you're not, you don't love it. It doesn't mean anything to you. There's no emotional connection to it. That's where inconsistency comes from. Okay. Number five, finally, about content, or final piece about content here, is that you do not need to post every single day. That is absolutely a farce. Stop feeling like you need to, because you don't. What you need to do is you need to have a cadence of content that you follow, meaning, yes, you need to have a calendar to allow you to have that sort of peace of mind of, I know what's coming next, so that we feel a little bit safer, right? But we don't need to be posting every single day. We need to 2 to 3 days a week max. But with what we do need to be doing every single day is outbound prospecting. So that's where the second piece really comes in. So if we're only posting 2 to 3 pieces of content per day, or sorry, per week, that doesn't change the fact that our outbound prospecting effort needs to be done daily. So critical, and something that we're going to spend a lot of time talking about. The only stat I'm going to show here for sake of time is the final one, is that LinkedIn, this actually just came out at the end of 2025 going into 2026 directly from LinkedIn's data sales. They did a big survey on this. It was a really fascinating article, honestly, but people who are using social to sell are 51% more likely to hit whatever their written goal is for the year. So I don't know about all of you, but I know I have a written goal. I'm sure all of you, hopefully at the start of 2026, had a number, whether it's volume or units, whatever it is that you want to hit. So if you are using social correctly to sell, meaning you are outbound prospecting through social, you are 51% more likely to hit that number. I don't know about you guys, but I like my chances if I do it, and I can 51% more likely to hit it. I'm in, right? So that's a huge stat and was a really cool article, and something that just obviously lights me up as to why I'm so passionate about teaching this assignment to you guys. So my signature assignment that I created back in 2019, that was really born into an actual tangible homework assignment that we give our coaching clients, is called Drivers and Levers. So what Drivers and Levers is, I'll show you visually what it looks like here in just a moment and give you this backstory of how to actually do it. We'll do some role playing, some screen sharing on actual messages and what it should look like. But the ultimate point behind Drivers and Levers is these three things. So what does this even mean before we get into them? Drivers and levers means that we are sending one message to someone every single day that drives inbound opportunity into our business, and we use leverage to do it. That's where the drivers and levers came from, right? So a driver is something that we must do on a monthly basis that puts us in front of the opportunity to create the lead. Notice I did not say to get more leads. I said the opportunities we have to have on a monthly basis that put us in front of the lead opportunity, right? So the driver is the opportunity itself that creates the lead. And then the lever is the person that we know in our life that can be the bridge between someone we already have a relationship with to get to somebody that we don't. Anthony would, in this case, be the lever, right? That introduced me to all of you. That's what a lever is. You have this person that becomes the bridge between someone that you know, or is someone that you know, to get to people that you don't. That's what a lever is. Every single one of you on this call, you have personal levers, you have professional levers that you should be leveraging in your outbound prospecting through social. Okay, so here are the three things that Drivers and Levers does for all of you, hopefully, and has most definitely done for me in my career. Number one is your revenue is steadier. Who doesn't want that? We're all entrepreneurs, right? Which means we start the first of every month in the red, which means that in order for us to be profitable that month, we have to go find new business. Welcome to entrepreneurship, right? So in order for us to feel that revenue is steadying, we have to understand how to go get more of it and create momentum over a long, sustainable period of time. So the second thing, probably the most important thing of the three, is that panic feeling. Where is my next deal coming from? Goes away. And I am obsessed with the drivers and leavers assignment in my own business because I'm about to go on maternity leave. You guys hopefully can't tell, but I'm actually 37 weeks pregnant tomorrow. But you can't tell, hopefully, right, from here up. But in all seriousness, like knowing that you're going to take some time off and you have an amazing team behind you to keep everything running, that's where that panic goes away because I look at our P&L and L and I look at our what's coming up in the few months after I get back and it's awesome, right? And that's where that panic feeling of, oh no, can I take time off really goes away. So drivers and levers is such an impactful opportunity for all of you in your own businesses, regardless of, oh, I have a health thing happen. I want to go on vacation with my kids or I want to go on a date with my husband or my wife, right? Like you don't have that feeling of, oh crap, I should be working instead. And to me, that is what life is all about, right? So that's important. And then number three, clarity, meaning I know now what to do every day, creates momentum. So probably 9 out of 10 phone calls I have with people who are stuck in this realm. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing on social because I haven't made it, nothing's been working. That is so fun for me to hear because I know how to solve it, right? And when I can give them the solution and that clarity, all of a sudden the momentum is born and or built, right? So that's where if we don't know what we're doing, that's why everything's foggy and we're sort of frustrated by it. When we have the clarity, that's where the momentum is built. So that's what drivers and levers does. I'm skipping that slide for sake of time here so we can get into the weeds. So here is the revenue or I'm sorry, the drivers and levers process. It is 4 steps in total. And there is a little bit of a screenshot here I'll show you. I'm going to flip to that and then I'll come back to this. So stay with me. I promise I'll go back. But this is what the assignment actually looks like itself. So this is a 3-page document that we use inside our coaching program that allows for you guys to identify what are the drivers in your business that actually create opportunity for you and how many of those on a monthly basis do you want to or do you need to be doing. Great example. I have a loan officer who I absolutely love. She's 27, so she's a little on the younger side, especially for the mortgage space, but she is a hungry fireball when it comes to crushing it, and I love it. But when I asked her, what is one of the drivers that you know you need to be doing on a monthly basis? She said, well, I got to meet with new realtors and I got to meet with them every month. I said, great, Callie, what's the number? So on this line, her monthly target, she wrote 10. So new realtor meetings and a total of 10. What that meant is that she knew that if she met with 10 new agents every single month that are not currently sending her business, that she, without a shadow of a doubt, would get at least one loan from one of them that was not a loan that was expected in her pipeline already. Meaning she's now adding one loan to her overall total for the month. Now, she doesn't need 10 because she's way better than she thinks she is, but in her mind, 10 is the target. So we track that. How many are on your calendar for March? How many are on your calendar for April? And we have that identified or quantified because let's say her goal is 10, but she looks at March and she only has 3 meetings on her calendar as of right now with agents that are not currently sending her business. What happens is our red flag should go off, which is right here down at the bottom. That red flag should go up and say, hey, I only have 3 on my calendar for March. My goal was 10. Now we have direction, aka that black line. We know exactly what we should be doing in the next few days because we need to go fill that bucket. Our goal was 10. We only have 3. So I got to go find 7 more, which means that that one message that I send every day to somebody I do not know for the next 7 days is with the sole purpose of filling that bucket. Are you guys with me? Hopefully, understanding this process as a whole. So if I know I need 10 and I only have 3, my assignment, the only assignment that you have as far as prospecting every day is to go fill that bucket to get from 3 to 10. Right? Great example for me. I do on average 1 to 2 speaking gigs a month. My goal is always 2 speaking gigs, meaning in-person opportunity for me to be in front of a room of people that are awesome. So if I look at my calendar and I only have 1, guess what I'm doing? I'm going to go prospect to get the second one. Once I fill that bucket, I now go to a different driver, another one of the things that I need to be doing on a monthly basis to fill that bucket. So I know exactly what my 90-day projections are in each of my three buckets. So if I look at what those three things are and I say, well, one of them is super full, one of them is close, and the other one is really empty and I need to go fill it, that's where my energy goes when I send the one message. So I'm intentionally sending one message every day to get that opportunity call booked on my calendar. Okay, so that's what that piece means. Who are your levers? Again, levers in your life, personally, professionally. Who are the people that you work with that could introduce you to someone that you are not currently working with? And in this case, we're name dropping them in a message that we're sending to someone. Okay. And then the most important one, obviously, being number one here. So notice I went bottom up on this slide. That was on purpose. At the very top here, what are those things that we need to be doing on a monthly basis that drive inbound opportunity? Two of them at minimum should be one to one for most of you. One of them should be one to many. One to many, meaning you're in front of a room of multiple people, not just one to one meeting. Maybe that's teaching a class. Maybe that's, doing a webinar of some kind for your agent partners, whatever that is, right? So you guys have to identify what those would be. And obviously, that's part of where I can talk through that with you if needed. But you have to identify what those drivers are in your business that actually create opportunity for you. This document, again, is 3 total pages and breaks down all of that. Down here, you can't see it because it's cut off. But for those of you guys who will end up purchasing a copy of my book, The Black Line, I want you guys to write in your notes, page 132 and 133.
Look,
Boom. Look at that. Almost like on cue. But page 132 and 133, please earmark it because that is where the what do I say in that outbound message every day, that's where it comes in. So page 132 and 133 gives you the 4-part framework of the outbound prospecting message, what it should sound like, what it should say, and how to ultimately write it. Okay, so we're going to do some fun role play here. And I want you guys to use the chat box and be interactive. Anthony, you're unmuted, so obviously you're welcome to chime in. But what we're going to do here is I want you guys to look at this message and read it. I'll read it out loud. This is a current prospecting client that I'm working with right now. She is in the mortgage industry, as you guys can tell from IMB. But what we are doing here is I lovingly hand slapped her from afar, aka via text, because I was mad at her for sending this message before she sent it to me because this message did not result in a booked call for her. It actually resulted in a ignore, meaning the person read it and did not respond. So, how many of you guys are on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram right now and you get all of these inbound messages and you're like, wow, that was a slimy, sleazy car salesman not meant for me message every day, right? Every day. So if that's the case, don't be the one sending them, right? So that's where this framework really comes in because when we're going to send messages, we want them to not just read the message, but we want them to respond to our message. Okay, so looking at this, what do you guys think is wrong with this message? Use the chat box, comment, let me know. What do you guys think is wrong with this? No value or benefit to the recipient. I agree, Brian. Great comment.
yeah.
What else do you guys think? Deanna says boring, not open-ended. I like that. What do you think, Anthony?
I think it's too much about them.
Bingo. That's the most important one is it's too much about them. It's not about the person that she's trying to serve, right? Craig, I love your answer. It's too long and it's also asking for second place, which is automatically a no. Right? And I love Joe's comment, hope is not a strategy. No, it is not. Very much so. Okay, so here's how this was rewritten. Here are the 3 things that I texted her back. So when she texted me a screenshot of it, she said, here we go. I sent one. Is this cringe? And I, via text message, yelled at her from a girlfriend's standpoint. And I said, you should not have sent that before you sent that to me for approval. And here's the 3 things that I told her to change. And then what I did over here for you guys is a rewrite of what it should have read or how it should have read. So the 3 things, number 1 is I told her to take out, have a great day. That is cringe, right? At the end of a long message like that, does not come across well. It is not received well, feels very spammy. Number 2 is it was not a time anchored call to action. I am such a believer in a true, strong, time anchored call to action. On page 132 and 133 of the book, you guys will see me talk about that because I can tell you from lived experience that when you time anchor a call to action versus when you don't, it is night and day whether or not someone says yes or whether or not someone says no. That part alone. And then the most important part is number three here that I mentioned to her, personal connection. So she name drops Laura, who is obviously her lever, that she's name dropping to try to get to this other individual because she has a relationship with Laura. But in her message, if you read this again, she doesn't put any value whatsoever that she has provided or any relationship context at all between her and Laura. There is zero. So therefore, the person she's sending this message to, even if this person loves Laura, this person has no concept of why my client would matter to her based off of anything she's done for Laura. So personal connection when you're name dropping a lever is critical. So here's an example of how I would have rewritten this. And this is exactly what I texted back to her. Hi, person's name, aka the person she's sending the message to. I was hoping to see you at IMB, but heard that Laura got sick. I just realized there's a typo in there. Sorry. Can you guys tell I wrote this or copy and pasted this in here without coffee this morning? My bad. Lack of caffeine at 4:30 in the morning. So, hi, my person, or hi, name. I was hoping to see you at IMB, but heard that Laura got sick. Her and I were just on a call last week, and she told me about everything that you are doing. Her and I have worked together for X years, insert your number, and we are currently about to do X. So, this would be an example of how you add credibility to your name through a lever that you are name dropping. Definitely in growth mode over here. Another typo. Gotta love that. Would love to jump on a 10 to 15-minute call with you next week because working with Lennar again would be a dream, even as a backup to your other firm. Then time anchored call to action. Do you have either Monday or Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central open for a call or Zoom? Notice I did not say, are you available next week? I said, do you have either Monday or Tuesday for a 10 to 15-minute Zoom meeting? Scott, I don't know the answer to that. I'll tell you laughingly, I was a journalism major, which means I'm terrible at grammar. Full disclosure. But I get by, right? Okay, so does this help? Do you guys see the difference between what they usually look like and you guys all receive those every day to what they should sound like? Brian, yes, it's offering to be a backup, but in a totally different environment, totally different feeling of the call and honestly of the ask. So I don't know about you guys, but maybe you guys can address this in the chat if you want to. But would you respond to a message like that in comparison to the message on the previous screen? I would imagine that the answer would be yes. Whereas this one, I know me personally, I get these types of messages literally every day, and I maybe respond to one or two of them at the most, and a lot of it is no thanks, right? Especially depending on what it is. So huge difference in how the message is perceived. And the most important thing is, yes, she's asking to, even if it's as number two, but she's not doing it from a place of hope or desperation. She's doing it from a soul place of, I just really love Laura. We have this mutual connection. Laura loves you. I would love the opportunity to just know you. Right. And then you get on a call, you create a relationship, and you never know. Laura might say, yeah, actually, that person's number one, but I've been looking for a second one that I really want to have on board. You don't know how that conversation is going to go. Right. So, Scott, I agree. The connection to Laura is the key for me and how she helped Laura. Amen. That's why that personal connection sentence is critical. And I harp on this for like 2 pages in the black line because it's so important and it's made a huge difference in my career. So I want you guys to look at that. Here's two examples of messages that I've sent in the last couple of weeks. Notice the timestamp. I always laugh about this. I do not, and I am not afraid of messaging early in the morning because I am an early bird. I wake up at about 4:20 every morning and I sit and work from 5 till 6:30 until my 4-year-old son decides he wants to wake up. And then I switch to mom mode. But I prospect early in the morning, every morning. So my one message that I send every day, whether it's on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, doesn't matter. These two just happen to be LinkedIn, but these messages go out at that time frame. A lot of it has to do with also the type of person you want to connect to. When are they most likely to be on the platform? right? So if I'm going for a C-suite executive, I'm not messaging them at 2 in the afternoon because they're probably on Zoom, right? I'm sending them a message early in the morning before their day starts. So think about that. Okay. I'm going to skip this and go to this quickly, and then we'll switch to the QR code for the book if you guys want that. But I really want you guys to see this slide because can I fix your content problem if you have one? Yes. And that was one of the things that Anthony and I talked about together multiple times, both in person in Orlando and on a couple of phone calls, was there's a lot of people that are struggling with social, but they don't know how to fix it. And that's not that it's not Anthony's love language, but it's not his lane, right?
Yep.
Meaning he could fix it, but it's not his lane. So, what I want you guys to hear me say is I'm not a social media coach. I am a social media prospecting expert. There's a huge difference. One of them is about the growing a following. So, if you get on a phone, on a call with someone and you're like, hey, I want to grow my followers, I only have 50, it's not the right question because that doesn't make you money. 50 to 100 followers doesn't make you money, right? So can I fix your content problem? Yes. But what I ultimately do is I help you grow a genuine pipeline using social as the vehicle, how to build relationships that create genuine opportunities for you to convert. That's what we want. And all of this is central around an outreach strategy. Who am I messaging? What am I saying? What is my intent in the message? And that person, when they get the message from me, guarantee you they're clicking on my profile to say, who is this? Which is why our content does matter, right? But people are not going to necessarily see your content until after you message them. Once you message them, for example, if I message Anthony on LinkedIn and he doesn't know who I am, he's going to say, well, who is this Michelle girl? Even if I had the perfect message, he's still inquisitive and he's going to go look at my LinkedIn and be like, who is that? So your content does matter, but it is secondary to the outreach or to the prospecting strategy. So if you want to use social from this perspective, you need to pay attention to content matters, but my outreach strategy is what's most important. And those are the questions I need to be asking because at the end of the day, that's what puts money in our bank accounts. Okay. Favorite quote to end on is that discipline is not a noun, meaning it is not a person, place, or thing, right? Discipline is an action, it is a verb. So think about, do I want to take the time and effort and money I've spent on social and actually have it make me money? Then I need to do the action that is going to create that, right? So we have to go from being reactive on social to proactive on social. Huge mindset shift, right? If you're just posting content and waiting for someone to comment and praying that someone does, and then you'll get in there and rapidly fire respond, you're going to be hoping and praying for a while. And I think it was Scott maybe who said that hope is not a strategy. Who said that? I can't, oh no, it was Joe. Joe's comment, right? Hope is not a strategy. If we're posting content and just praying that someone's going to message us today, we're living in hope land. I don't like living in hope land. I like taking the bull by the horns and saying, I'm going to go do exactly what I know I need to do every day to make sure that I create inbound opportunity for my business. And for me, that is the discipline of sending one message every single day without fail using
And
rhythm.
one message every day isn't overwhelming. That's what I love
Not
about
at all.
it.
5 minutes or less. And once you create that, build the drivers and levers assignment and you have it built out, it's 5 minutes or less. That's it. So for those of you guys who want to have your own copy of the Black Line, I've put this in here for you. That QR code will take you directly to Amazon. You can get it overnight or 2 days, however fast your Amazon is. And it'll deliver right to your front door. Anthony's is not signed. It needs to be signed though, but next time I see you, I'll sign it, I promise. But the book itself, I'll say, is kind of part rallying cry, part playbook, part a little bit of my personal journey and personal story to where I am today. But most importantly, it's really about how do we actually do all of this and why is it so important? And then what can it do for you? This book is really not about me, it's about you and how I can serve all of you. And I think that's the key. Okay, so that QR code will take you directly to Amazon. And then for those of you guys who are intrigued and want to talk to me, I'm more than happy to. I have opened up my calendar a little bit tomorrow afternoon and Friday. So if you guys would like to jump on my calendar and have a discussion with me about coaching, what does that look like? Can I help you with the social strategy side of things? Yes. If you need a website, you need to call Anthony right now. You need to get a call booked on his calendar. If you need help with social, book a call on mine and we'll fix that. So I look forward to just even talking to any of you and seeing if there's some synergy between the two of us to create a solution for you. But most importantly, Anthony, right at the top of the hour, a 400 on my computer. We crushed it, right? Thank
Yes.
you. And I appreciate you. I'm so excited that we got to do this together, and hopefully it was helpful for a lot of you.
Yes, thank you very much, Michelle. Guys, guys and gals, I hope this was helpful. Get the book. It's interesting. I'm about halfway through. It's a good read. There's tactics in it. Most importantly, remember, we're not trying to create this endless amount of work for us. This is very manageable, and you have to prospect somehow. That's just the reality. So, um, hopefully, it was helpful. I'll send out a recap to everybody in the next day or two. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you guys. Awesome. Appreciate it. You're welcome, Dave. I'm going to stop this. You're welcome, guys. And if you guys have questions, I can hang out for about 5 minutes and answer them if
Yep.
you want to drop them in the chat. I have another call in 13 minutes. If you guys
Yes.
have questions, let me know.
That said, good luck with the
Oh,
delivery.
thank you. The show must go on, though. Work will continue, whether I like it or not. Thank you. Awesome. Okay, if we have no questions, then we'll jump. But thank you guys so much. And Anthony, you're awesome. I appreciate you.
To be continued.
Bye.
Talk to you later. See you guys.